Ambassador Amina Ray adjusted her formal diplomatic attire one last time before the imposing doors of the Galactic Council chamber. The massive hall towered above her, its vaulted ceiling displaying an artificial sky filled with the stars of 1,000 worlds. None of those stars represented Earth, at least not prominently. After 2 centuries of membership in the galactic community, humanity remained a footnote, a young species granted observer status out of obligation rather than respect. As Earth's chief diplomat Amina had spent 5 years smiling politely through condescension, negotiating from positions of weakness, and accepting the scraps thrown to her planet by the elder species who'd controlled interstellar politics for millennia before humans had even discovered fire. Ambassador Ray, a melodic voice called from behind. "How fortunate to encounter you before proceedings begin." Amina recognized the voice immediately. Zethmal, diplomatic attaché to the Vroom Confederation, one of the Council's founding members. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture she'd learned indicated polite interest without genuine respect. "Attaché Zethmal." Amina nodded, maintaining the precise degree of deference expected from representatives of junior worlds. "Indeed a pleasure. I trust Earth's colonies are prospering," he inquired his translator, rendering perfect English, though she detected the faintest hint of condescension in the untranslated harmonic undertones. "The Outer Rim must present such challenges for your kind." "We manage," she replied evenly. "The Proxima and Tau Ceti settlements report economic growth of 7% this cycle. Impressive for such young endeavors." Zethmal's upper arms performed the traditional Vroom gesture of acknowledgement that among their kind was typically reserved for children's achievements. Perhaps one day they might advance to self-sufficiency. Amina maintained her diplomatic smile while carefully tamping down her frustration. The Vroom had been saying, "perhaps one day," about human achievements for nearly 2 centuries. The grand chimes sounded throughout the chamber, signaling all representatives to take their positions. Amina proceeded to her assigned station in the observer's tier, far from the central decision-making podiums, where the 12 elder species held permanent positions. From her elevated perch, the entirety of galactic politics sprawled before her, a majestic dance of power, where Earth remained perpetually wallflower. First speaker. Dramkor, the imposing representative of the Heshtari domain, activated the central dais. His massive form, nearly 3 meters tall, and covered in iridescent scales that caught the artificial light, commanded immediate silence. "We convene the 723rd General Assembly of the Galactic Council." His voice boomed across the chamber. "May wisdom guide our discourse." The formal proceedings began with ceremonial acknowledgments of newly appointed representatives, trade dispute resolutions between minor worlds, and updates on scientific expeditions to uncharted regions. Humanity's concerns, primarily requests for expanded settlement rights in the Outer Rim, were scheduled for discussion during the final hour, when many primary representatives would have already departed, leaving decisions to junior aides. Amina used the time to study the political landscape. The Vroom and Heshtari maintained their traditional alliance, while the Avian Palathi seemed increasingly aligned with the crystalline quartz mines. The Cephalari delegation, usually neutral on matters beyond their oceanic interests, appeared unusually engaged today. Her datapad buzzed discreetly. A message from Earth Command routine diplomatic correspondence, most likely. She opened it, expecting the usual bureaucratic updates. Her blood froze. The attached visual feed showed smoldering ruins where Proxima Colony's main settlement had stood just hours before. Emergency responders moved through debris, while medical teams triaged survivors. The preliminary casualty count, 547 civilians, confirmed dead, hundreds more injured or missing. Amina fought to maintain her composure as she scanned the emergency briefing. An unidentified fleet had emerged from FTL travel directly in the colony's orbit, bypassing the early warning systems. They'd launched precision strikes against population centers before disappearing back into hyperspace. No communication, no demands, no warning. It was the deadliest attack on human civilians since Earth had joined the galactic community. She looked up at the council proceedings continuing obliviously around her agricultural quota discussions now, and felt a surge of rage, unlike anything in her diplomatic career. The colony's distress call should have triggered automatic notifications throughout council space. The attack should have immediately halted this meeting. Instead, it seemed the message had been deemed unworthy of interrupting the council's scheduled agenda. Amina rose from her seat, a breach of protocol during active discussions. Several nearby representatives turned toward her, with expressions ranging from curiosity to annoyance. She activated her station's emergency speaker, override a function rarely used by observer worlds. Point of emergency intervention. Her voice cut through the agricultural minister's dissertation on grain yields. Earth requests immediate council attention on a matter of grave security concern. First speaker. Dramcor's expression shifted to one of irritation. Earth's representative is reminded that emergency protocols are reserved for matters affecting multiple council worlds. 2,547 civilians are dead, Amina replied, her voice steady despite her racing heart. An unidentified military force has attacked a registered human settlement without provocation or warning. I believe this constitutes a security emergency worthy of council attention. A murmur spread throughout the chamber. Attacks of this scale were rare in council space, where the combined might of the elder species had maintained relative peace for millennia. Transmit your evidence to the central verification systems, Dramcor conceded, after a moment's consideration. We shall examine this claim. Amina complied, sending the full emergency briefing to the Council's shared information matrix. The massive central display activated, showing the devastation at Proxima Colony. Several gasps echoed through the chamber as the footage played. Regrettable, Councillor Zethmal commented after viewing the evidence. However, the attack pattern clearly suggests pirate activity. The Outer Rim has always been vulnerable to such lawless elements. Pirates don't typically possess military-grade orbital bombardment capabilities, Amina countered. The precision targeting and weapon signatures suggest organized military action. Perhaps, interjected Pelthori, the Palathe representative, her feathered crest flattened in what Amina recognized as an expression of dismissal. Or perhaps human colonial defenses are simply inadequate against even common marauders. The Council has repeatedly offered defensive technology exchange programs that Earth has declined. Amina bit back her immediate response. The exchange programs had always come with exploitative terms. Earth would receive outdated defensive systems in return for exclusive resource extraction rights that would have effectively turned their colonies into vassals of the elder species. Earth requests a formal investigation into this attack, she stated instead. Under Article 7 of the Mutual Defense Charter, any signatory world suffering unprovoked aggression is entitled to Council investigative resources. Article 7 applies to full Council members, Dramcor responded smoothly. Earth maintains observer status by choice. By restriction, Amina corrected, abandoning her usual diplomatic restraint. Earth's 17 applications for full membership have all been denied on technicalities. An uncomfortable silence fell across the chamber. She had breached an unspoken rule. Junior worlds did not publicly challenge the Council's membership decisions. The Council will dispatch an investigative team to examine the incident, Dramcor eventually stated clearly, eager to move past the uncomfortable topic. Until then, we recommend heightened security measures for all human settlements. Perhaps your government might reconsider those defensive technology offers. And what of immediate response? Amina pressed. The attackers may strike again while investigations proceed. Without identification of the responsible parties, the Council cannot authorize military action, Dramcor replied. We are a civilization of laws, Ambassador Ray. Even in tragedy, protocols must be observed. The response was perfectly reasonable by Council standards and utterly insufficient by human ones. Amina recognized the familiar pattern: delay, investigate, at leisure, eventually produce a report recommending improved defenses without meaningful action against the perpetrators. Earth thanks the Council for its consideration, she replied with practiced diplomacy that masked her growing resolve. We look forward to the investigative findings. As she returned to her seat, Amina sent a brief, encrypted message to Earth Command. Proxima response delayed indefinitely. Proceed with contingency protocols. Authorization, Ray Alpha 7. For the first time in her 5 years as ambassador, Amina felt a grim satisfaction as the Council returned to its agricultural discussions. They had no idea what they had just set in motion. The humans had played by the rules for 2 centuries. Now, they would show the galaxy what happened when those rules failed to protect their people. Over the following days, Amina maintained her diplomatic schedule with mechanical precision while coordinating Earth's response behind the scenes. She attended the memorial service for Proxima's dead, standing stoically, as the names of 2,547 victims were read aloud in the Earth Embassy's garden. Many were children, families torn apart in minutes by weapons fired from orbit, by an enemy that remained officially unidentified. The Council's investigative team arrived 3 days after the attack, a delay that would have been unthinkable had an elder species colony been targeted. Their preliminary assessment matched Zeth Mal's dismissive conclusion: probable pirate activity targeting vulnerable human infrastructure. No mention of the military-grade weapon signatures. No explanation for how pirates had bypassed standard detection systems. Earth's formal protest of 15,000-word document meticulously detailing the evidence contradicting the pirate theory was acknowledged and filed for further review by a subcommittee that wasn't scheduled to convene for another 60 days. In her secure quarters that evening, Amina received an encrypted transmission from General Ryland Earth, Fleet Command's highest-ranking officer, and her oldest friend from the Academy days. "They're stonewalling us," she said, without preamble, as his holographic form materialized in her office. "As expected," Ryland replied, his weathered face grim in the blue glow of the secure transmission. "The evidence we've gathered suggests Cephalari involvement. Their energy signatures are distinct." Amina felt a cold shock. "The Cephalari? They've never shown hostility toward human interests before." "Territory," Ryland said simply. "Our xenogeologists discovered significant element 731 deposits in the Proxima system last month. The Cephalari have been trying to corner the market for their new propulsion systems." "And the Council knows this?" "Almost certainly. The Cephalari representative sits on the Resource Allocation Committee. Our filing for mining rights would have crossed his desk." Amina paced her office, mind racing. "If we accuse them directly without concrete proof, we'll be labeled paranoid. If we wait for the Council's investigation to confirm what we already suspect, more colonies could be targeted," Ryland finished. "Which is why I've been authorized to inform you that Ghost Fleet has been activated." Amina stopped pacing. Ghost Fleet. That's not just a theoretical concept. Ryland's expression remained unchanged, but a hint of pride crept into his voice. "Project Ghost has been operational for 15 years, Ambassador, waiting for exactly this scenario when diplomatic channels fail to protect human interests. The Council believes our military capacity consists of 47 mid-range cruisers and support craft," Amina said slowly. "Are you telling me that's not accurate?" "Those are our registered vessels, yes." A thin smile crossed Ryland's face. "Ghost Fleet operates outside official inventories." The implications staggered her. Earth had been developing military capabilities in secret, directly violating Council transparency protocols. If discovered prematurely, the consequences would be severe, possibly even expulsion from the Council and economic sanctions. "How many ships are we talking about?" 173 combat-ready vessels with advanced stealth capabilities. Technology the Council believes impossible for humans to have developed independently. "And yet we did," Amina whispered. "With some help," Ryland acknowledged. "Not all species on the Council appreciate the Elder World's dominance. The Lyro have been particularly forthcoming with technical assistance. The Lyro, a minor species known for their exceptional engineering, but limited political influence. Amina had always found their representative unusually sympathetic to Earth's positions, but had never suspected active technological collaboration. What's the plan? Phase 1 begins tomorrow. A Cephalari battlecruiser will experience a catastrophic drive failure near the Arcturus transit point. No survivors, no witnesses, no evidence of external attack. Amina felt a chill at the clinical description of what would be essentially an act of war. And if they retaliate against another colony, they won't have the opportunity. Phase 2 involves simultaneous strikes against their forward military bases in the Outer Rim. By the time the Council realizes what's happening, the Cephalari will have lost a third of their offensive capacity. The scale of the operation shocked her. This wasn't just retaliation. It was a carefully orchestrated campaign that must have been years in the planning. The Council will demand explanations when Cephalari ships start mysteriously failing, she pointed out. That's your department, Ambassador. We need you to maintain plausible deniability while keeping diplomatic channels open. Earth officially knows nothing about Ghost Fleet. We're simply a concerned observer as these unfortunate incidents unfold. Amina considered the dangerous game they were about to play. And if the Cephalari present evidence of human involvement, they won't find any. That's the ghost in Ghost Fleet. Our ships utilize a quantum displacement field that renders them effectively undetectable to current Council scanning technology. As far as their sensors are concerned, our attacks come from empty space. The technology sounded impossible, yet Ryland's confidence was absolute. Earth had been developing teeth in secret all these years, while smiling politely at Council meetings. I should be outraged that this was kept from me, Amina said finally. As Earth's chief diplomat, I've been making policy based on incomplete information about our capabilities. It was necessary, Ryland replied without apology. Your reactions needed to be genuine. Your frustration with the Council's dismissal of human concerns had to be real, because it was. She couldn't argue with the logic, though it left a bitter taste. And now you continue exactly as you have been pushing for the investigation, expressing appropriate diplomatic concern, and observing. The Cephalari will soon have more important matters than Proxima Colony to worry about. As promised, the following day brought news of the Cephalari battlecruiser, Void Hammer's destruction near Arcturus. All 342 crew members lost to what preliminary reports called a catastrophic drive containment failure. The Cephalari delegation at the Council was visibly shaken, demanding an immediate investigation into potential sabotage. Amina expressed appropriate diplomatic condolences, while noting the irony of the Cephalari suddenly developing an interest in thorough investigations. The Council, true to form, established a committee to examine the incident, one not scheduled to deliver findings for at least 30 standard days. 3 days later, as Amina sat through yet another Council session, where Earth's concerns had been relegated to pending business, her secure pad vibrated with an encrypted update from Ryland. Phase 2 complete. 4 Cephalari forward bases neutralized. 0 Ghost Fleet casualties. She maintained her composed expression, while inwardly marveling at the operation's success. 4 military installations destroyed, without a single human ship detected or damaged. The Council session was interrupted as aides rushed to deliver urgent messages to several representatives. The Cephalari delegate Morovax received his message and immediately turned ashen, his tentacular mouth appendages writhing in what Amina recognized as extreme distress. Chaos erupted as Morovax demanded emergency speaking privileges. The Cephalari conglomerate has suffered unprecedented attacks against our sovereign military installations, he announced, his translated voice trembling with rage. 4 critical defense posts have been destroyed by unknown aggressors. The Council chamber erupted in alarmed conversations. Attacks of this scale against a founding member were unprecedented in recent Council history. First Speaker Dramkor called for order. These are grave accusations, Representative Morovax. What evidence do you present of these attacks? Our outposts in the Deneb al-Furq Altair and Sud al-Melik systems have gone silent. Emergency response vessels report complete destruction. Thousands of Cephalari defenders lost. And the attackers? Unknown. No ships detected on approach or departure. No energy signatures. No hyperspace distortions. It's as if the attacks came from shadows themselves. Morovax's translator struggled to convey his emotional state, but the untranslated harmonics conveyed pure rage and fear. Perhaps, Amina suggested innocently from her observer position, the council might form an investigative committee. I understand they're quite effective at addressing such matters. Several representatives turned to stare at her clearly, catching the barb in her polite suggestion. Morovax's appendages twisted in a gesture that required no translation. You dare mock our losses. When your pitiful colony suffered a minor pirate raid, the Cephalari supported the investigation. 2,547 civilian deaths constitute more than a minor raid. Representative Amina replied coolly. Earth extends its sincere condolences for your military losses and hopes the responsible parties are identified swiftly. The exchange did not go unnoticed by the other council members. Several exchanged meaningful glances, clearly wondering about the timing of these attacks so soon after the Proxima Colony incident. The Council will establish an emergency response team to investigate both the Cephalari-based destructions and any potential connection to recent incidents in human space. Dramcor announced effectively linking the two events. Until then, all Council members are advised to increase defensive readiness. After the session, Amina was unsurprised when Zethmal approached her in the diplomatic reception area. Curious timing, he remarked without preamble. The Cephalari suffer unprecedented attacks mere days after your colony's unfortunate incident. The galaxy can be dangerous, Amina replied evenly, as Earth has recently learned. Indeed. His four eyes studied her with new intensity. Earth's registered defense capabilities would make such attacks impossible, of course. Completely impossible, she agreed. Our modest fleet is fully accounted for and remains in Earth's defensive perimeter, as verification protocols confirm. Of course. He performed the vroom gesture indicating deep thought. One wonders what other impossibilities might soon occur. The Council has always warned that the Outer Rim harbors unknown threats, Amina said, echoing the dismissive explanation given for the Proxima attack. Perhaps those threats have found more prominent targets. She left Zethmal staring after her, the first seeds of uncertainty planted in the Vroom diplomat's mind. Over the next 2 weeks, the pattern continued. Cephalari military and industrial assets suffered catastrophic failures, mysterious accidents, and inexplicable destruction. No attacks were ever detected in progress, only their aftermath discovered when communications ceased or relief ships arrived to find floating debris. The Cephalari fleet scrambled to defend remaining assets, but found themselves shooting at shadows. The council chambers transformed from a place of stately procedure to a center of crisis management. Species that had dismissed Earth's concerns now watched the systematic dismantling of Cephalari power with growing alarm, wondering if they might be targeted next. Amina observed it all with outward diplomatic concern, while maintaining regular encrypted communication with General Ryland and Earth Command. Ghost Fleet operated with surgical precision, targeting only military and industrial infrastructure, while avoiding civilian casualties whenever possible. The Cephalari defense grid is collapsing, Ryland reported during one secure briefing. They've lost 60% of their offensive capacity and are pulling remaining assets back to protect their core worlds. And the Council's investigation, he asked. Foundering. Their sensor technology can't detect our quantum displacement field. They're investigating natural phenomena sabotage, even theoretical new weapons, everything except what's actually happening. Which is humanity showing the galaxy what happens when we take the gloves off, Ryland said with grim satisfaction. Phase 3 begins tomorrow, their central command and logistics hub in the Fomalhaut system. Amina felt a moment of concern. That's deep in council space, not the outer rim. The risk of detection increases exponentially, which is why you'll be directly involved in this one, Ambassador. Mihao, we need you to ensure the Council's primary monitoring station is focused elsewhere during the operation. Dr. Lyra suggests a diplomatic incident requiring emergency session would draw their attention effectively. Dr. Lyra, the chief engineer behind Ghost Fleet's revolutionary technology, according to the briefings Amina had recently received. A brilliant scientist who had apparently been developing quantum displacement theory in secret for decades. I'll need something substantial to justify an emergency session, Amina noted. We've arranged for certain evidence of Cephalari involvement in the Proxima Colony attack to become available to you tomorrow morning. Authentic evidence, Ryland emphasized. Nothing manufactured. The following day, Amina received a data package containing intercepted Cephalari military communications, explicitly ordering the Proxima attack. The messages had been captured by Ghost Fleet surveillance, but presented as if they had been obtained through standard intelligence channels. She immediately requested an emergency council session citing definitive evidence of council member involvement in attacks against human civilians. The unusual nature of her claim ensured all primary representatives would attend rather than sending aides. As the council convened, Amina noticed the Cephalari representative appeared increasingly agitated, his skin chromatophores, flashing stress patterns, visible even to human eyes. The evidence she was about to present would effectively confirm what many on the council already suspected, that the attacks on Cephalari assets were retaliation for Proxima. The council recognizes Earth's representative for her emergency motion. Dramkor announced his tone, indicating skepticism. Amina rose and activated the central display. Earth has obtained incontrovertible evidence that the attack on Proxima Colony was ordered and executed by the Cephalari conglomerate military forces. She transmitted the intercepted communications to the shared display system. The chamber fell silent as the messages played authenticated Cephalari military protocols, command authorizations, and explicit targeting orders for civilian infrastructure at Proxima. The attack had been designated Operation Resource Denial, with the stated objective of discouraging human expansion into strategic resource zones. Morovax's chromatophores went wild with patterns that required no translation, shock rage, and fear cycling across his skin. "Fabrications!" he shouted, appendages writhing. "The humans have manufactured this evidence to justify their attacks against us." "What attacks?" Amina asked with practiced innocence. "Earth's fleet remains in our home defense perimeter, as your own monitoring confirms. We have launched no operations against Cephalari interests. You expect us to believe these ghost attacks began immediately after your colony was struck, targeting only Cephalari assets, by pure coincidence?" Morovax's translator struggled to keep pace with his agitated speech. "Earth possesses no technology capable of the attacks you describe," Amina stated truthfully. "Officially, Ghost Fleet did not exist. We merely present evidence of your unprovoked aggression against our civilians and ask the Council for justice." The Council erupted in overlapping arguments as representatives processed the implications. While Earth officially maintained ignorance of the attacks against Cephalari assets, the timing made the connection obvious. Yet, without evidence of human involvement, the Council found itself in unprecedented territory, facing what appeared to be justified retaliation executed through means they couldn't comprehend. As the chaotic debate consumed the Council's attention, Amina received a single-word message from Ryland, proceeding. Ghost Fleet's largest coordinated operation was underway. 37 stealth vessels converging on the Cephalari Command Center at Fomalhaut, while the Council's monitoring resources were focused on the diplomatic crisis unfolding in their chamber. The debate raged for hours. Several elder species representatives demanded Earth turn over all military assets for inspection. Others called for sanctions against the Cephalari for the confirmed civilian attack. A few voices suggested emergency mediation to prevent further escalation. Throughout it all, Amina maintained Earth's official position. They had presented evidence of Cephalari aggression and sought council action, nothing more. The destruction of Cephalari military assets was unfortunate, but unrelated to Earth's diplomatic concerns. As the session approached its fifth hour, an aide rushed to Morovax delivering an urgent message. The Cephalari representative's skin turned ash-gray, a sign of extreme distress among his kind. Fomalhaut command has been destroyed, he announced, his translator barely able to interpret his shocked vocalizations. Our central military coordination facility, our fleet headquarters, gone. The council chamber fell silent. The Cephalari had just lost their primary command and control center, the heart of their military infrastructure. Combined with their previous losses, they had effectively been reduced from a major power to a vulnerable state in less than 3 weeks. "How many casualties?" First Speaker Dramkor asked quietly. "Unknown. Thousands. Our highest command staff was present for emergency coordination efforts." Morovax's appendages hung limply, a sign of emotional surrender. "We, the Cephalari conglomerate, formally requests Council emergency protection." The admission of weakness stunned the Assembly. One of the founding members, a species that had helped establish the Council's military doctrine millennia ago, was now requesting protection, as if they were a minor world. "From whom do you seek protection, Representative?" Dramkor asked carefully. Morovax's gaze fixed on Amina. "We all know, though they deny it. Somehow the humans have developed weapons beyond our understanding. We attacked their colony, yes, for strategic resources. We believed vital to Cephalari interests. We acknowledge this crime. But the retribution has far exceeded the offense." His public confession transformed the diplomatic landscape instantly. With the Cephalari admitting responsibility for Proxima, the moral dynamics shifted dramatically. Earth has presented its evidence and appreciates the Cephalari representative's acknowledgement, Amina stated carefully. "We continue to maintain that Earth forces have launched no operations against Cephalari assets. Perhaps the Council's investigation will eventually identify the responsible parties." "Enough diplomatic fiction," growled Zethmal, rising from his seat. "The timing and precision of these attacks leave little doubt about their source, regardless of how they were executed. The question now becomes one of resolution before further escalation." Several representatives nodded in agreement. Whether or not they could prove Earth's involvement, the Council clearly wanted to end the crisis before other members potentially became targets. "The Council proposes immediate cessation of all hostilities," Dramkor announced. "The Cephalari have admitted responsibility for the Proxima attack and will offer appropriate reparations to human victims. In exchange, we request that Earth use its influence to ensure no further actions are taken against Cephalari assets." It was as close as the Council would come to acknowledging Ghost Fleet, without requiring Earth to admit its existence. "Earth would consider such an arrangement," Amina replied, "provided certain additional conditions are met." "What conditions?" Dramkor asked warily. "Full Council membership for Earth with all associated rights and privileges, a permanent seat on the Security Committee, and formal acknowledgement that attacks against human settlements will be treated with the same urgency as attacks against any founding member world." Her demands would have been unthinkable weeks earlier, a junior species demanding equality with the founders. But the Council chamber had transformed. The elder species representatives looked at Earth's ambassador with new eyes, no longer seeing a diplomatic placeholder from a backward world, but the representative of a power that had systematically dismantled a founding member's military, without revealing how it had done so. "The Council will require assurances that Earth's undisclosed capabilities will not be employed against other members," Zethmal stated. "Earth has never sought aggression," Amina replied smoothly. "We have always pursued peaceful relations and followed Council protocols. Recent events simply demonstrate that we are capable of defending our interests when diplomatic channels fail. Provide us equal standing, and equal standing is all we'll require." After days of emergency sessions and private negotiations, the Earth Equality Treaty was drafted. Its provisions effectively restructured council dynamics more significantly than any agreement in the past 1,000 years. Earth would receive full membership status, including voting rights on all committees. In exchange, Earth would acknowledge certain theoretical capabilities that would be subject to non-proliferation agreements. The Cephalari significantly diminished, but still, a council member agreed to substantial reparations for the Proxima victims and formal apology for the unprovoked attack. Their remaining military assets would operate under council oversight for a probationary period of 50 years. Most significantly, the treaty established new response protocols for attacks against any council member, regardless of status or age of membership. The dismissive approach that had met Earth's initial protests would never again be considered acceptable procedure. As the final signatures were applied to the treaty, Amina found herself standing beside Zethmal in the council's ceremonial garden. "You've transformed the balance of power in 3 weeks," the Vroom diplomat observed. "Impressive for a species we considered diplomatically naive." "Perhaps we simply learned that diplomacy requires leverage to be effective," Amina replied. "And now your Ghost Fleet remains an unprecedented military advantage. Some council members fear you'll seek further concessions." Amina smiled. "Earth has what it wanted: equal standing and respect. We've never sought dominance. Yet you've demonstrated capabilities that suggest you could achieve it if desired." "The gloves came off because they needed to," she said simply. "But Earth prefers to extend a hand instead of making a fist when given the choice." As she spoke, the ceremonial lighting shifted to illuminate the newly installed Earth insignia among the founding members' symbols in the Council's Great Hall. No longer segregated to the observer section, humanity had claimed its place among the stars. Later that evening, Amina met with General Ryland and Dr. Lyra in her now expanded diplomatic offices. "Congratulations, Ambassador," Ryland said, raising a glass of Earth whiskey and toast. "You've achieved diplomatically what our ancestors could only dream of: genuine equality in the galactic community. Achieved through the implicit threat of superior firepower," Amina noted with mixed emotions. "Not exactly the peaceful integration we once envisioned. Peace through strength has always been the reality of interspecies relations." Dr. Lyra commented, her gray eyes reflecting the wisdom of decades spent developing Ghost Fleet's revolutionary technology. The Council respected power long before they respected reason. "What happens to Ghost Fleet now?" Amina asked. "As agreed in the treaty, we'll dismantle 30% of the vessels as a gesture of good faith," Ryland explained. "The remainder will transition to official status over 5 years, with quantum displacement technology, registered under limited access protocols." "And the Lyro? Their contribution to our technology development remains secret." "Per their request," Dr. Lyra confirmed. "They prefer to maintain their appearance of neutrality while continuing our technical partnership. The balance of power suits their interests." Amina moved to the viewport overlooking the sprawling council capitol, its towers gleaming in the light of twin setting suns. "Everything changes now. The Council will never look at humanity the same way again." "For the better," Ryland assured her. "Respect brings security. Security enables genuine cooperation. And cooperation leads to advancement for all," Dr. Lyra added. As twilight settled over the galactic capital, Amina reflected on the transformation 3 weeks had wrought. The humans had arrived in the galactic community with open hands and peaceful intentions 2 centuries ago. When those hands were slapped away, too many times the gloves had come off, revealing capabilities that had shocked the elder species to their core. Now, those same hands were being clasped in genuine partnership by former dismissive superiors. Humanity had earned its place not just through military might, but by wielding that might with precision and restraint. They could have destroyed the Cephalari entirely. Instead, they had demonstrated just enough power to ensure they would never be underestimated again. The next day, as Amina took her seat at the primary council table for the first time, She felt a profound sense of accomplishment, tinged with caution. Ghost Fleet had secured humanity's position, but maintaining that position would require the wisdom to know when to show strength and when to extend friendship. The session opened with traditional formalities, now including Earth in every ceremonial acknowledgement. As administrative matters proceeded, Amina's secure pad vibrated with an encrypted message from the Frontier Monitoring Station at the edge of explored space. Unknown signal detected beyond the Sagittarius arm. Pattern suggests artificial origin, non-Council technology. Ghost Fleet vessels dispatched for reconnaissance. She looked up at the artificial sky above the Council chamber, where Earth's star now shone prominently among the Founder's systems. One challenge had been overcome, but the galaxy remained vast and full of mysteries, some potentially more dangerous than political maneuvering. Humanity had proven itself to the Council. Soon, they might face tests that would require all species to stand together. When that day came, Earth would no longer stand in the shadows of the galactic community, but at its forefront, gloves off, hands extended ready for whatever the universe might bring.